Hey everybody, it's Master Gallengeist here, bringing you my review of the latest episode of Game of Thrones, Battle of the Bastards. And overall, I was really happy with how they did this episode. A lot of movement was going forward through all the storylines. We can really say that this season has been about storylines moving forward in kind of meaningful ways, with the exception of Dorne, because that kind of just did something, and then we haven't went back to it since. So we'll have to see what's going to be going on with that. But the most important stuff that we've been invested in and interested in has moved forward in ways so that we can actually get to kind of like conclusions and kind of get to where we need to get to for the story to continue. So this started with the Battle of Meereen and showing like everything that's going on with the Master's fleet bombarding the crap out of Meereen, and it doesn't look good. But then Dany's like, alright, okay, we see what's going on. Tyrion's trying to explain, I had it under control, and then this shit happened. It was good. And she's like, alright, I got a plan. I'm going to kill everyone. And it's like, that can work, but can we try something else? Because it kind of went to, like, the Targaryen way of, I will take what is mine through fire and blood. And that's alright to a certain extent, but if you just always start killing everyone that disagrees with you, you're getting into Mad King territory, and I don't want that to happen with Dany. I want more interesting stuff, like a more nuanced approach, because the Mad King was crazy. He had wildfire throughout all of the King's Landing and thought that if he did it, he could actually turn into a dragon. That's how crazy he had gotten. I want Dany to get into situations where she realizes her faults, realizes she needs other people to help her continue on her goal, and then to kind of temper herself. Still have the fire and blood mentality, but be willing to do it in a way that doesn't completely screw her or the people over. That's kind of what we saw as we were moving through with this episode, because then they had a meeting with the Masters and they're like, alright, we're here to discuss your surrender, and you're going to give the Unsullied back and they'll be sold. You're going to give your translator back to Sandy and she'll be sold, and you're going to slaughter your dragons. And I'm like, have you guys seen these things? They're pretty damn tough to kill. And Daenerys is like, no, we're here to talk about the terms of your surrender. And it's like, this was great because then Drogon comes in to show how immense he is. This is not a creature you fuck with. If you're going to kill it, you're going to have armor-piercing, like, bolts from, like, crossbows and stuff, and even then I don't know if that'll pierce its hide. This is something that you're going to have a whole fleet for to just attack it. And then she got on its back, got Drogon, Viserion, and Rhaegon, and started using her Targaryen Air Force. What they're there for. Started burning some ships and stuff like that, and it was just a great display of how she now has more of, I hesitate to say control because they're still wild animals, but she has more of an understanding and a relationship with her dragons for them to actually do what they need to be an effective weapon in her arsenal. And as that's going on, the Masters are like, holy shit. And then, it's just great to see them be like, okay, this isn't going well. And then while that's going on, her great Dothraki horde of like, over like 100,000 comes in and starts taking out the pretty much Sons of the Harpies. Like, we're back. And oh shit, here's the Daario chopping their head off. It's like, so they got the ground cover. She's got air forces. She's got ground forces. And she could pretty much effectively do her own blitzkrieg when she needs to. So that's going to be an interesting, like, strategy if she can use something like that in her conquest of Westeros. So, as that's going on, everybody's kind of seeing it. Grey Worm talking to the Masters and talking to their troops and like, you know what? You don't have to be here. You can go home to your families because they wouldn't die for you. And they're like, yep. So then the Masters are just left by themselves, and it's explained to them that the Queen's like, alright, one of you's got to die. The other two are like, this dude can die. He's a lowborn, screw him. Grey Worm goes up, kills the other two, and it's like, yes, this is how it needs to go down. And Tyrion's like, alright, we'll let you live. You can go talk about your retributions and stuff, but you can tell them what happened here. tell them how she did this. And it was a good plan because then she gets to keep the Armada and all that mostly intact, so now she's got ships that she needs. And it is a more effective way to get the Masters to understand her power. If you just keep killing people, people will eventually rise up against you, and you'll just keep getting in the cycle of violence. If you do it in such a way, like she did, show the power of her strength, take out the ones that are pretty much the masterminds behind the plot, and be, this is what we did. We took out your forces. We took out the Masters. We know what we're doing. So if you're going to try and come back at us, you better be able to take out some dragons or whatnot, because we've got that in one of the biggest land forces at the moment. And it's great to kind of see that kind of victory and her listening to her advisors, and her advisors also, in effect, listening to her, because yes, you want to try a diplomatic approach. Yes, sometimes you're going to have to do a military approach, but you have to do a fusion of both in order to be the leader that you need to be. So that was pretty cool. So then we got to see Jon, Sansa, and Ramsay, and they had their little kind of term speak to kind of see what was going on. Ramsay's like, all right, thanks for bringing my wife. Now just kneel and I'll forgive everything and we'll be all good. And it's like, yeah, right. Nobody freaking believes you. So Jon's like, all right, thousands don't have to die, just like you said. So how about one-on-one? He's like, I don't know if I can beat you, but I know my army can beat yours. He's like, yeah, but do you think that they're still gonna follow you if they realize that you're not willing to die for them? And then Sansa had to go and be Sansa, because after Ramsay, she's like, all right, how do we know you have Rickon? And he shows the direwolf head and everything, and it's like, all right. And Sansa's like, well, you're gonna die tomorrow, and then leaves. So it kind of sets them into the path that they have to fight tomorrow. And that's kind of important, because as timelines go on through the episode, you're like, okay, how's this going to go on? Because he tells them that he hasn't fed his dogs in 7 days, and he's like, oh, he's going to eat you guys. They're going to eat you, and I wonder which bitch they're going to try first. It's like, okay. So then we get to Jon's council, and they're kind of talking their strategy, that he was doing this to kind of make Ramsay angry, to kind of get him into a place that he would make mistakes. And that Davos is like, well, he rules by fear, that's his strength, and is also his weakness, because once that fear is broken, the people that are following him won't follow him anymore. So they say, all right, here's our strategy. We got to get him to charge at us. That way we've got trenches along the sides. They're explaining to him, and that way we don't get pincer attacked, get attacked on both sides. He'll come in, we'll surround and take out his forces. So like, all right, sounds like a good plan. And then Sansa, who's being kind of, in my opinion, stupid. Now, she has grown into a stronger character, but she doesn't realize this knowledge that she has or needs to kind of effectively do stuff in situations. We've seen her kind of being a kind of weaker version of Baelish, in my opinion, in that she's trying to do maneuvers on her own accord, but I don't think she understands exactly how to do them or execute them properly. And we'll kind of get to my thoughts at the end of the episode of how she has actually made calculated missteps into what she's trying to do. So she's talking to Jon and is angry that he didn't ask her how Ramsay thought, what he's been doing, all this kind of stuff, that he lays traps for people, that he does all these things, that he's always steps ahead, when she's never volunteered this information before. We've seen that after she talked with Baelish the first time, that she went into the mode of thinking more of Jon as the bastard brother first, instead of Jon as the brother. Because when they first got back together, it's like, you're my brother, you're my sister, we can do this together. And then she starts withholding vital information, because she's talking about how we have to wait for larger force and everything, giving no allusions to the Vale as the larger force. Jon talks about like the Blackfish and how they don't have him and his forces and all that, and she never told him about Baelish, about the Knights of the Vale and all that, and it's like she's trying to be Baelish and kind of not doing it the correct way. Because her strongest ally at this moment is Jon, but she's keeping him at arm's length because I think she wants to be put at the front of Winterfell, which I wouldn't have a problem with if she could wield that power effectively. And I have not seen a instance of her being able to do that at this moment. And she keeps going on about like they need a larger force and everything, and Jon's like, we can't wait. He's got the force, he's got Rickon, he's played our hand. We need to try and do it and get him. And she's like, Rickon's pretty much dead. He is the most legitimate threat to Ramsay's rule of Winterfell as we have it. We're just playing to pretty much get Winterfell at this point. And that even if we lose, I'm not going back alive. And Jon's like, I'll protect you. And she's like, you can't protect me. No one can protect anyone. It's like, yeah, because nobody's giving everybody all the information they need. It was just really kind of frustrating to see her character acting that way. Granted, and that's mainly because she's going into Baelish scheme mode and not acting like how her mother would act or how a Stark would usually act, because they tell it to you like it is. They keep their honor and all that, and that's how they would do it. And then we get to see Davos and Tormund talking about the battle. Tormund's like, I gotta do my ritual, and Davos is like, I'm gonna go do mine. And they're talking about how they put their faith in these kings, and like Stannis and Mance, and they didn't really work out. And they're like, well, Jon Snow's not a king. And they're like, no, he is. Let's keep our faith in him. It's like, yes. Oh god, it's really cool. And then we got to see Jon talking to Melisandre, and it's like, you weren't at the war castle. They're like, I got nothing on that. And he's just mainly there to say, you know what, if I fall tomorrow, don't bring me back. And she's like, gotta try. And he's like, no, that's an order. It's like, well, guess what? I follow the Lord of Light. And he's given me the power to bring you back. So, of course I'm going to try. Who knows what's going on? Maybe he brought you back for a reason to come here or not. Maybe he brought you back for other reasons. We'll have to see. And Jon's like, that's kind of weird to do that. That's like the God that they've got. And it's kind of cool to have these kind of conversations between him and Melisandre and talking about like these different religions and beliefs throughout the Seven Kingdoms and all that, and seeing kind of where this is going to be going. Because then we got the big thing that I was hoping for. Davos saw Shireen's toy that he had made for her, he gave her, and sees it next to pretty much a burnt out fire. And he's pretty much put two and two together. And that is going to be interesting fallout, because then after that, the horns sound and it's pretty much getting time for the battle. Now we get to go to another pretty interesting and cool scene where we get to see characters interact that we haven't seen in the books or that we haven't really got to see interact for a while. And we got to see Tyrion, Dany interact with Theon and Yara. Now, Varys wasn't with them, so I'm kind of interested to see where Varys has gone and who he's trying to get to support Daenerys and all that. So I'm kind of interested to see where that's going, because Theon and Yara got there pretty quickly. Now, granted, they probably condensed stuff, but I like this because they're kind of talking about what they need. Because they're offering their ships that they've got, about 100 ships from the Iron Islands. And they're like, okay, so I guess you're doing this so that I'll support your claim to the Iron Throne. And at first she's talking to Theon, and he's like, no, support her claim. And it's like, well, that's interesting. And they're talking about how they've got stuff in common, like their fathers weren't good kings, all the kind of abuses that have happened pretty much because of all their horrible fathers. And then it's like, well, why don't I wait for Euron? And it's like, well, he's going to offer you marriage as well, and he might have more ships, but he's going to want all of it. He's going to want you and what comes with you, the Seven Kingdoms. And he'll kill you once he's got what he wants, because that's his motive. He keeps going for what he wants and killing for what he wants. And it's kind of cool because they asked for pretty much independence. And she's like talking to Tyrion, and it's like, well, you know what? They're asking. That's fine. If other people ask, that's okay. And I was like, she's finally kind of learning that yes, you can have the Seven Kingdoms, but you're going to have to do this in a way that does not take down the independence of these houses, because that is an important thing, especially in the North. If you're going to be promoting yourself as a queen, doing it in a way like that will actually make it seem better for the people that you're essentially trying to run for being the queen. It'll work and help better if you actually have to conquest things, because then they're going to give up, she's going to give us more rights than we've had under other kings. That'll work. And they're like, well, you might need to kill some uncles or two because they'll be kind of pissed off that a woman's ruling, but it was interesting. And her conditions were like, okay, you can do that, but no more raving and reaving and pillaging and raping. And it was like, that's their way of life. But they agreed to it. I'm like, yes, moving forward, you could actually be a very effective military force on the sea and also a trading thing on the sea. I mean, you don't have to be doing this stuff to just try and get land and resources. You are an effective kind of population on your own if you can figure out how to use them to your advantage. And then we got to the title bout of the episode, the Battle of the Bastards. I've got to say, this is one of the best fight scenes I've seen, and a great example of how it would have been in medieval times for a battle like this. It's the cinematography, everything that was done was amazing. This is like top tier stuff, even better than I've seen in movies. And it was really good in what they've done. So to set up for it, we get Jon's side first, and then we cut over to Ramsay, and Ramsay starts doing his stuff. He's never straightforward. He's a mad dog, but he's mad enough to know what he needs to do. So he brought out Rickon, pretty much told him to run to his brother, and let him go and was firing off arrows at him. So Jon, of course, did the thing. If there is a way to save his brother or his family or his friends, he's going to do it. That's what it means to be a Stark, to be Jon Snow. Granted, does that lead you to situations where you're pretty much going to get killed? It is, but he's acting true to himself. Is it somewhat stupid? Yes, but it's stupid because, and acceptable because, it's in his character. So he's going out, but then we kind of see something a little bit stupid, in that Rickon's pretty much running in a straight line. And it should have been more of a zigzagging pattern, but his death was important to show the impetus and the stakes that were being raised. Granted, not much had been done with him, but it got Jon invested because right as he got there, it happened, and he charged. Everybody else was getting ready. It was like, all right, charge it out. So he pretty much was doing what he wanted Ramsay to do. And it kind of sucked. But you could see how kind of lucky some things were going on in this battle, because Ramsay started firing off arrows and Jon's only choice was to go forward. I mean, he could try and run back, but it wouldn't have been as effective to try and get out of the hail of arrows that were coming. And then, of course, his horse is killed, and he's standing there. Ramsay orders his cavalry charge, and then Jon, you get a great shot of Jon just like waiting, and then right as Ramsay's cavalry comes, his cavalry meets at him, and then it's just this chaotic battle that's going on with Jon. He's a great fighter and great at what he does, but I mean, in that, it's pretty much luck and skill combined with a greater weight towards luck, to like dodging everything that's going on. People getting hit by horses, people getting dragged down, people getting stabbed out, and oh, it was amazing. And then he's like kind of getting ready to, oh god, it's just great, because Jon's pretty much ready to die at that point, and the force is just getting over and over, and then you're just seeing how the battle's going out. And then you just see this giant mound and wall of the dead that's going on. People fighting around, people dying in the mud and the muck. And then that's when Davos decides to start ordering his last forces into the fray, which are the archers and everything. And that's when Ramsay decides, all right, go in with the infantry. And Umber, the Lord Umber, leads the charge, and they've got their shields and everything, and pretty much encircle Jon's forces. So they're pretty much trapped between a ring of all the shields and spears and then the Mound of the Dead. That's their only escape route if they can have it. And that's where Umber decides to bring his rest of his forces. So they're all stuck in the middle. It's a giant killing field. They're inching forward, compacting them in there. You see Jon getting pretty much suffocated. You're thinking, geez, he's not even going to get like wounded regularly. He's going to get suffocated, and luckily he got out. But you see that. You see people dying everywhere, getting crushed together. And then Tormund starts doing this fight with Umber, and Umber pretty much underestimates him. And I mean, yeah, they've got Won there, but Won's only one giant. He can't break the lines by himself, so everybody's getting pushed back to the mound and everything. Tormund's getting the shit beaten out of him, and it's just crazy. Then they hear a horn, and that's when Tormund just goes and just bites the shit out of Umber and stabs him. It's like, yes! I'm like, I like Tormund so much. He's such a great character, and I was like, I don't want him to die. I don't want a lot of these people to die. And that's when we see that the Vale armies has arrived with cavalry. Now, this is important because I don't think Jon and the rest knew about the Vale or that they would be able to come in that amount of time. Now, Sansa might think that this is kind of her victory because she's the one that brought in the forces, but in actuality, it's Baelish's victory. Baelish does not do anything unless he is getting closer to a goal that he has set for himself. And I think that this shows that he knows what he's doing and is going to try and take Winterfell. The only reason he is helping Sansa is she is thinking that he's trying to make up for Ramsay. I think he's trying to get it so that he can marry Sansa and become Lord of Winterfell, Lord of the North, and combine that with the Vale. He has been slowly amassing lands and titles to pretty much get to the Iron Throne. This is a man who's got schemes within schemes, and Sansa, who is kind of learning from him, doesn't have the capacity to see where his schemes are taking him. She knows he's a schemer, but she doesn't know what kind of level and what length of a game this man has been playing. And that is kind of his victory. And you might be thinking, yeah, Sansa's the one who kind of negotiated it, but he's the one that offered it. And he's the one who was doing all this, and it's more his victory than her victory. And it's just kind of crazy because it breaks the line, and you kind of see her smiling, seeing what's going on. Ramsay sees what's going on, sees Jon, Tormund, and Won kind of coming out. So he retreats to Winterfell like, we could hold a siege. It's like, yeah, but we don't have an army, man. And then Won comes in, breaks down that door, and it's like, yes. And it's really kind of great because it's, as this is going on, Sansa also sees that Jon kind of made it out, and she's even kind of surprised. I think that she thought that Jon would most likely perish on the assault, thus giving her a better kind of claim to Winterfell. Because, as you see, Jon's been shown more kind of love and respect of his men and the people that he has been in contact with than with Sansa. Sansa's mostly an unknown quantity to people in the North because, yeah, they've known her as a child, but they haven't had as many dealings with her. She hasn't been able to build up the kind of Ned Stark, Catelyn Stark kind of credibility that Jon already has. And I just think that she thought that that would be, that most likely Jon would be dead as well, since she had such the view that Rickon's already dead. And I was like, come on, don't be like that. So, as they got into Winterfell, Ramsay pretty much killed Won. I mean, it didn't look like he was going to make it much anyway, but Ramsay shot him in the eye and said, you know what, I've reconsidered that one-on-one battle. And Jon's just like pissed off, and he's got enough energy. He grabs his shield, pretty much blocks all the arrow shots Ramsay does, and almost beats him to death with his bare hands. And it's great, man. It's just amazing. And then he sees Sansa and like, he figures out this isn't his kill to make. He's seen this kind of stuff going on. He's seen what kind of person Ramsay is. This isn't his kill to make. So he lets him live, at least at the moment. And we see the direwolf put back on Winterfell after so many years, and it's great. And we see Melisandre kind of like smirking like, yes, here's the victory. Here's the victory. Then we see Davos looking at her and like, that's going to be big next week. Very big. There's going to be big fallout from that. I don't know if Davos will kill her because she's going to be important in the battle against the White Walkers, but she ain't going, she's not going to be doing the rest of what she thinks she's been doing. he's gonna, I don't know what's gonna happen, and that's the kind of cool stuff. What's Davos gonna do? And we get to see that Jon's like, all right, bury Rickon next to my father in the crypt, get that kind of stuff settled away. And we see that Ramsay's been tied up in his dog kennel, and he's like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna be going. And she's like, you know what? Nobody's gonna remember you. You might say that you're a part of me, but nobody's gonna remember you. And then that's when the dogs come in, and he's, until his last breath, he's trying to command them to stop and sit and do all this, but he hasn't fed them for 7 days. It's that Chekhov's gun. You say something about it, they him, and it was a fitting end to a truly great villain of this show. Because he was a mad dog, he was by his own dogs. It's poetic justice. It's narrative justice. It was great. And then we get to see Sansa smirking as she walks away. So, I think even though we consider her one of the good guys, she might be tilting more towards kind of villainous approach if she continues on kind of the Baelish path. Because, granted, she deserves to feel satisfaction with Ramsay's death. But we've got to see if that continues on to any other things that she starts doing. And it'll be interesting to kind of see, now that the war in the north has been kind of won for Winterfell, how that's going to ripple out to other houses, how people are going to react, if that's going to unify the north, what's going to happen with it. This is great stuff to be happening, and it's like, I cannot wait to see where the season finale goes and the next seasons. But it's going to be very hard for them to top this battle. This is one of the definitive battle scenes that is going to be done for Game of Thrones. It's going to be hard to top it, but it could be done with like Daenerys and the dragons, the Dothraki, the eventual invasion of Westeros. But this was really good and an overall satisfactory episode. So, those are my opinions on the episode. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you agree with me, if you disagree with me. Also, like and subscribe, and I hope you have a good day.